For the Pikes PPRTA Board of Directors, we have a quorum. If I'm correct, I see Brian Risley online and Councilmember Avila is here. So we have 6. All right, our first item of business is to approve the agenda. I will take a motion to approve the agenda.
I move approval of the agenda, John Graham.
I'll second Mayor Dixon.
Okay, any changes to the agenda? All right, all in favor say aye.
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 Okay, any opposed? All right. Item number 3, the appointment, reappointment of board members and selection of officers. So Rick, would you like to speak to the appointment or reappointment?
Yes, please. Thank you, Madam Chair. The PPRTA board bylaws requires that in writing that each of the board directors be reappointed by the respective member governments each year. And we have received that for all 10 current board members. So all 10 are legitimate for this meeting. And the second item on the agenda is selection of officers. That's also a bylaws requirement, and the board needs to select its chair from the city directors for 2025 and its vice chair from the county directors for 2025, and then a board secretary.
Okay, I will take nominations for someone from the city to be the chair.
Do we have anyone that's actually wishing from the city to be the chair?
Yolanda, I didn't know if Brian still wanted to do it or.
Is he here?
He is out of town today.
Okay, I
He's
didn't know
right.
that.
He's online. Brian's online.
He's online. We can nominate him because he's here, because he's not here too.
I heard he's online.
He is online.
Yeah, this is Brian. I don't know if you can hear me. I was having trouble unmuting.
Okay, I nominate Brian Risley to be chair.
I'll second Mayor Dixon.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously.
Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can, Brian,
Okay.
but I'll still run the meeting.
Excellent. I just wanted to make sure you could hear me. Thanks.
So, and then as far as vice chair, I guess that might be me. So does someone want to nominate me?
I nominate Holly Williams, Yolanda Avila.
Okay, thank you.
I'll second John Graham.
Oh, man, it's going to be a close election. All right, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we do have, just for your information, our new commissioners are not sworn in until Tuesday. So we will have someone new here next month from the county commission.
And board secretary for 2025.
And we would nominate Rick Sonnenberg to be our board secretary. Do we have a second?
Mayor Osborne, second.
All right. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay.
I
All
have
right.
to say, I like this version better than the math problem we had this summer. So,
I
or
know.
fall, whenever that was.
I know. So we've got a lot of turnover coming this year with council member Avila leaving and Randy Helms will be leaving. And so it's at least this will provide a little stability. And then new commissioners. Okay, public comment for items not on the agenda. The public can email general comments or questions regarding the agenda in advance of the meeting to PPACG office manager at conference@ppacg.org. Public comment speakers are limited to 5 minutes each, whether in person or via Zoom. Jared, do we have any public comment today?
Madam Vice Chair, we do not.
And is there anyone in the room? Okay. There's no public comment. Number 5, approval of minutes from the December 11th, 2024 meeting. If everybody's had a chance to review those minutes, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Oh, you're gonna, I have a question about the minute.
Okay, go for it.
So I was noticing that it seemed the discussion, there wasn't any minutes regarding the discussion. We had a pretty robust discussion regarding transit and something else now.
Was it Academy Boulevard?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
And so, thank you. And I didn't see well, I made a lot of comments and I didn't see those reflected at all in the minutes. It was almost like, the minutes were kind of like the agenda, like going through the agenda,
Sure.
except for, that we voted when we voted.
So do we want to postpone the minutes until next month and add in some comment? Is that something we typically do in our minutes?
I would like my comments to be added in and whoever else was speaking at that time.
Okay. So I guess we would want to postpone the minutes until next month. And then if Rick, you could go back and listen to the comments and add in some of those comments because those were pretty important because we are
Yeah.
worried about Academy Boulevard.
And I apologize. I meant to call Rick about it since Monday, but I kept forgetting until now. And I feel like that's something I still want to address.
No, I think that's very important. So let's go ahead. We'll postpone the minutes. Do I need a motion to postpone?
Madam Vice Chair, before you go, Commissioner Geithner does have her hand
Ah.
raised.
Commissioner Geithner, go ahead.
Yes, I just wanted to get some clarification on the type of minutes that we do here. I know obviously at the county and Holly, you're obviously familiar with this as well. Our minutes only reflect actions taken, and that is because we have a digital record in the form of the recording of the meeting, similar to the way that we do it here. So I'm just wondering if we can get some clarification either from Rick or our attorney or both on what type of minutes we typically do keep. Because again, there's a full recording of this, so it may be that we are trying to keep our minutes simple to the actions taken. And again, I just know that's how we do it at the county, so wanted to get some clarification.
Yeah, and that's a great question. That's why I actually had my hand raised before we moved on. From a legal standpoint, minutes need to record the actions taken by the board. From a practical standpoint, different governmental entities prefer to do things differently. Some think that minutes are more like a court transcript, which is not really what minutes are intended to be. And some prefer them to just fulfill those legal requirements. So memorializing the actions taken by a board. Most governmental entities, I think, sort of bridge the gap somewhere in the middle with, if there's some noteworthy discussion, making note of that in the minutes. But I would say that the minutes as drafted are in line with what this board has typically prepared. So that's just a list of the actions taken, who made the motions, and what the result of those actions were. That doesn't mean that the request can't be granted to add some of the commentary in. So there really is no right or wrong answer, but this is in line with what the board has done previously.
I just feel like the conversation was pretty robust, and just to have at least, I'm not asking for a full-on transcript, and just a bullet or a highlight that there was discussion, and these are some of the things that were brought up. And I'd ask the board to support that.
Commissioner Geithner, did you still have any comments?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think this is honestly worth quibbling over a whole lot. I just think deviation from our standard practice is generally not a great idea, especially when we do have that record. That record is in the recording that is accessible. So those are there. If we get down the road of changing the way that we have done our minutes in the past to reflect specific things only, I dislike the inconsistency of that and would prefer that we stick to the typical way that we do meeting minutes and allow the recording to continue to reflect the very important comments that are often made here at this board. That's just my opinion.
Okay. I would actually be fine postponing them for a month because I just worry that if certain of our I just know it's been really hard on the South Academy businesses. It really has. And so while it does deviate from our standard practice, I would probably go ahead and just ask that we postpone them for a month, just to add in a couple lines, because frequently I would probably read the minutes more than I would listen to the recording. I just think it's really important for those businesses on South Academy that we're there to support them, because it has been kind of a problem. I know I've been there. So do we want to have a motion? I'll look at Mayor's row here for the motion.
I would make a motion that we postpone the minutes until next month or until the additional information can be compiled and put into the minutes as requested.
And do we
I
have a
second
second?
it. Oh,
Oh, we have a second from Councilmember Avila. So all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Opposed.
I'm also opposed.
Okay, all right. So that passes 6, right? Well, 6 to whatever and a half. Yeah. Partial voting will let you make sure that passed. Okay. All right, so we're going to postpone the minutes. Citizens Advisory Committee monthly report, 6A. Jim.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. Happy New Year. Jim Guthrie, Chair of the CAC. I had our meeting January the 8th, and would like to just go over a couple of things for you. We did have election of officers, and you're stuck with me for another year. Larry Tobias is our first vice chair, and Ed Dills is our second vice chair. They're the current officers, and they all got reelected. So it's my honor to be here and represent the CAC and do what we do. We take great pride in what we do, and we hope that we continue to meet your expectations. So thank you. City of Colorado Springs brought together 6 contracts. This is the time of year where some of these contracts are renewals of quantities and on-call services with no dollar value. So we're beginning to review those as part of this list of 6. El Paso County had the same thing, a list of 9 contracts for the county. And I think only one of those was actual construction, right, Josh? I think Hodgen Road or something. 2 designs. Okay. Yeah. So, so no questions that weren't answered, and we all recommend that you approve the county and the city's request as presented. Gail did provide we did look at the monthly change order report. There were a couple of questions and discussions about some of that, but nothing major. The city of Colorado Springs, Gail did give us an update on a Powers North reimbursement information, and you'll hear that today. And that was a good report, and we appreciate keeping us up to date on that. And any questions on our activities before I get to the last one? Questions from members of the board? Okay, the other thing we did is in your packet is the annual report of CAC activities, a summary of our stuff for the day, for the year. That would our formal report to you. And so I'm open to any comments or questions that you might have regarding that.
Okay, are there any comments or questions? First on the 6A, the monthly report. Okay, since there's no comments or questions on the CAC monthly report, I'll entertain a motion to accept the CAC monthly report.
Mayor Dixon also move.
Mayor Graham, I'll second.
Okay, that has been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
aye.
Aye. And then on 6B, the annual report of the CAC activities. Does anyone have any comments on that at this time? And if you don't have any comments, but you do see that later that you want to make comments, please remember that it does go, I believe, into our annual report. Am I right? No, that one doesn't. Okay. All right, then. I will entertain a motion to accept the annual report of CAC activities.
Mayor Dixon also move on that one too.
Yolanda Avila, second.
Thank you. I got my people to do that. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Any opposed, by the way? No. Okay. Financial reports. Lisa?
Lisa Corey, Finance Manager for the PPRTA. I do not have an updated report for you today. Usually I get those reports between the 10th and the 12th of the month. So once those are made available to me and I can get that processed, I will email it out to the full board.
Okay, thank you very much, Lisa. Let's go to, I'm going to go ahead, if it's okay, take out of order. Looks like Dan Jablan is online. And although today's one of the less busy days, Dan, are you available? He's probably not listening.
Nope, I'm here.
Okay. We're-
I am available.
Okay, we're going to have a legislative report. We do, if you want to hear about something about a bill, maybe accessibility and something like that regarding public comments. Have you heard any rumors on that one?
Yes.
And then tell us what's going on.
Well, I had hit the bell first. I met with the small government folks. Meg Frohlich's bringing this bill. I understand. I think it's coming from maybe the Cherry Creek school districts. But right now, currently, everyone's in it, including state government, which will put a huge fiscal note on it, which would kill it. So any kind of fiscal note would damage its chances greatly. Obviously, CCI, CML, there's everyone's going to come out against this. So it's a little early to tell, but we're going to have to wait to see what the final language is, just because if they don't pare the fiscal note down to virtually zero, this bill will not get through to the finish line. But that's kind of where it's at right now, because you can imagine the fiscal note if the state has to do this as well.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I didn't explain the bill well enough. It's an accessibility bill where anyone who makes public comment, no, Jennifer will explain it.
Yeah, it's not limited to public comment. It's basically that any information for meetings has to be accessible and posted to the website before it can be considered at a meeting, is my understanding. So it greatly expands the accessibility requirements and has a potential for limiting local governments from taking action at meetings.
Yeah, and that's my understanding as well, Jennifer. And it's also each meeting will have to have audio and visual available to the people. So that's one of the big pieces that's going to drive the fiscal note on this.
So that is a bill that we will probably take a stance on. I do have a comment, Rick or Jared. We lost 4 screens. Someone knocked a plug out somewhere. Okay, Dan, keep going. Some of us can't see you, but that in some cases might be better. So go ahead.
I think that is a benefit for everybody. And I'm not surprised you haven't muted me already. But yeah, we're off and running. It seems like an extraordinarily busy session already. When the state almost $1 billion short, the infighting is going to be tremendous, even within the caucuses and at the JBC. And I expect this to be one of the more aggressive, cantankerous sessions there is, just because of the scarcity in resources that the state is currently forced with. So, that's kind of where they're at. Obviously, as you know, the first day is not overly anxious, but a lot of bills will be dropping by the end of this week. And so we'll get a whole lot better idea on where we're at on those kind of things. And obviously, we'll all be monitoring anything that has to do with the PPRTA.
Okay, thank you. We appreciate that very much. And we will then see you again next month.
Yeah, and I'm going to go back over now and see if I can't dig up a draft copy of this to send to Rick and Jennifer on this bill so we could take a look at it. But in its current format, it has no chance to get to the finish line.
Yes, and we'll want to watch that one closely. If it gets into committee and stuff, and PPACG will probably want to watch that as well, because that one everyone will want to watch that one. So
yes, for sure.
We'll try to keep everybody updated as we can. So thank you so much, and
you're welcome.
Enjoy your first day.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye. All right. Next on our agenda then is the City of Colorado Springs contracts.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Gail Student with the City of Colorado Springs. The city has 6 contracts for your consideration. The first one is for Academy Boulevard. It's really focused on the north segment, which is it's between Bijou and Airport Road. This was a PPRTA 2 project. As I reported last month, in addition to giving a project update, I also informed you that we were working on settling or negotiating a closeout change order and resolving a claim situation. We have come to a verbal agreement with the contractor and come to a resolution which results in us paying an additional $2,054,097.87 to be able to close out this contract. And we're asking for the board's approval to proceed with that change order. Contract number 3 is for the Mark Shuffle Road project. This is a PPRTA 3 project. There was a map included in your packet, and this request focuses on the acquisition of 3 properties and easements and 3 parcels as shown in the exhibit. These processes we've gone through, it contains temporary construction easements, permanent construction easements, right away, and in one case we are purchasing an entire lot because we are going to be realigning Tamlin as it comes into Mark Shuffle as well. We went through and did an appraisal process for all these easements. The total comes up to $985,570. You will see on the memo that $726,223.75 would come from PPRTA, and the other $259,346.25 actually is going to come from a city account where we're holding funds from Colorado Springs Utilities, because one of the easements we are getting is for them and for the use for their future fresh water pipeline system that will be parallel to Mark Shuffle Road. Instead of going and hitting these property owners now and then coming back and having utilities come to them in a few years, we went through and looked at the properties holistically now and did the ultimate take of what we were going to need, so they knew what they were going to be left with. Contract number 3 is for the project management and construction management software. The city went through an RFP process for this a few years ago. We are now entering year 3 of the 5 years in our contract to be able to continue the service that's provided by Arrigo Software Technologies to be able to provide management services for PPRTA contracts. The total cost is $110,000, of which $73,125 is attributed to PPRTA. I'm going to talk about proposed contracts 4, 5, and 6 together. These are all task orders underneath our concrete on-call contracts. And then they're broken down by the 3 memos to separate the dollar amounts and the proposed locations. The first one contract 4 goes to Eagleview Concrete in the amount of $1,299,812 for work to be performed on the multiple segments included in the memo. Contract 5 is to ACD in the amount of $1,167,559. And again, the locations are shown in the memo. And the final one is for Concrete Experts in the amount of $851,141 to perform on-call concrete work within the city. Any questions on the contracts that I've presented today?
Okay, are there any questions on the contracts that have been presented? All right, there being no questions, I will entertain a motion to approve the City of Colorado Springs contracts.
I'll move approval of the City of Colorado Springs contracts as presented. John Graham.
Second, Mayor Dixon.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously. We will now go on to Josh Palmer for the county contracts.
Good afternoon, Josh Palmer, County Engineer. The county has 9 contracts to request approval on, and as Jim mentioned, 7 of those are material purchase orders or contract renewals. The first is a request to purchase top coat aggregate materials, otherwise known as chips, for our in-house chip seal program. We went through a bid process and we're requesting to award Schmidt Construction in the amount of $500,000 for the chips. The next contract is a purchase order, not to exceed amount of $80,000 to either Schmidt or Holcomb Construction to provide aggregate materials for our graveling program. The third contract is a purchase order contract to Maxwell Products for $60,000, and this is for our crack seal material. Again, we do a portion of our preservation program in-house, including the crack seal, and this will provide the mastic material, especially the materials that goes inside the crack underneath the oil for our crack seal program. The fourth contract is to Suncor in the amount of $1 million, and this is for the oil for the chip seal program. And we are actually extending a contract where we receive a better price through a CDOT's contracting process. So that's an amount of $1 million to Suncor. The fifth contract is a purchase order to Schmidt Construction in the amount of $200,000 for our asphalt paving materials. And this is just a fancy way of saying purchasing mixed asphalt. So last year we started a small effort to do some minor paving in-house, potholes, short runs of asphalt repair, things like that. So this is in an effort to help our in-house paving work. The sixth contract is to A1 Chip Seal. So this is the second year of their contract for a not to exceed amount of $5 million. So this is for our preservation program. So it includes chip seal, crack seal, slurry seal, microsurfacing, everything that falls into that category of preservation. And that is $5 million to A1 Chip Seal. Our seventh contract is a not to exceed amount of $4,500,000. And this is to one or more of the 7 approved concrete vendors. So this is the second year where we are renewing the contract. We put out and we have the opportunity to select from one or multiple approved vendors based on their availability and their pricing to support our annual concrete work. And they're pretty successful. So we get better pricing, we get better schedules. It opens the door for bigger companies to bid and get work, and smaller companies if they would like to as well. So it's been very successful so far. And that's for a not to exceed amount of $4,500,000. The eighth contract is a design contract in the amount of $815,612 to AECOM for the Baptist Hodgin roller coaster project. This is a PPRTA 3 project. So this will be the design services for the improvements of that intersection. And the final contract is a contract amendment number 2 to Wilson and Company, and the amount of $57,292 for the Mesa Ridge Parkway project. And this is to button up some minor design additions that we included, which is inclusion of lighting on this stretch of Mesa Ridge Parkway. And those are the county's contracts that available to answer any questions that you may have.
Are there any questions? Okay, there being no questions, I will entertain a motion to approve the El Paso County contracts.
Mayor Dixon, I'll move to approve the El Paso County contracts.
Yolanda Avila, second.
Okay, that has been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously. 9A, the City of Colorado Springs Transit Services Monthly Update. Lan.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the board. Your packet is our transit monthly update. Under the ridership section, you will notice that the November ridership did decrease compared to the same time last year. The reason for that decrease is really due to 3 weather days that we experienced in November. 2 of those weather days, we experienced delayed start, and 1 day with heavy snowstorm, we ended up canceling the service. So that's the decrease for those ridership. But overall, year to date, we still saw 0.5% increase despite 1 month less that zero fare that we were able to provide compared to 2023. Moving on to page number 64 in your packet. Under the transit highlight section, we would like to share that MMT staff decorated the downtown terminal on December 12th and handed out over 7 gallons of hot cocoa and nearly 500 candy canes. That was a great opportunity for the staff to connect with the customers, with the passengers that we serve, and we were able to provide information and updates of our service. So the event was very well received event by everyone. And I also want to thank Council Member Avila for participating in this event and share this great event with us, with our passengers that day.
Thank you, Lynn. Little story to this. Lan had her basket with candy canes and she was handing them out, the candy canes. And there were a few people that passed by and dropped money in her basket, thinking she was asking for money.
So next year, just bring a guitar as well.
There you go. Yes, everyone enjoying that event. We also want to congratulate our drivers of the year.
Nice.
Transdev selected 2 drivers, one from the fixed route service and one from ADA paratransit service, Ruben Valdez and Sandria Stacks. They both received the awards for their excellent service they provide to the public. So we congratulate those drivers. Also in your report, the next page, right there, is a quick update about our transit long-range plan effort. We are concluding our plan recommendation, and the PPACG board just approved releasing of the plan for public comment this morning. So we have gone through a very extensive public input comment period, and there will be additional open houses, both in person and online, available if you could participate or encourage others to participate. Following this report, we included a big section of our update on the service being affected, canceled due to both driver and vehicle shortage situation. This was a topic that was brought up by the board last month. So we went back to 2020. In your packet, under in figure 6, you will see scheduled and actually operated hours since 2020. 2020 was the baseline right before COVID. In 2021, through all the way to 2023, you would notice an increase from the bottom when we were hit really hard by COVID. So since 2021, we have been able to restore that service and added additional services. However, since COVID, we also experienced parts shortage, labor shortage, especially starting April of 2024. So we included additional information in this report. If you scroll down to the bottom of this page, there is a mistake in this report that 225,712 projected revenue service hours, that was actually the actual information provided as of November. The correct number should have been 246,231 projected revenue service hours for this year. So that the bottom line is the actual projected revenue service hours would have been higher in the chart. We took a deep dive of the situation and looked at what is really contributing to those impacted service. And what we found out from the data that we gathered between May and November 2024 was about a quarter of those impacted service was due to vehicle shortage, and 3/4 of that service cut was due to driver shortage. And the next question was, what have we been doing? What are we doing in response to this? Because even if when we look at the report, yes, it might be 2 to 3%, could be 5% of the overall service that we provided. It might be a small number, but the impact on the individual rider is very severe. So we looked at the impact of those reduced service and included our highest frequency routes in this report. The reason the biggest impact is felt by those high frequency route is really by design. We have very limited number of high frequency route in our service, in our system, about 10 routes depending on the day. But during the weekday, 10 routes is between 20 to 30-minute frequency, and majority of our routes are still operating less than 30-minute service. So if you follow our long-range plan, that's one of the immediate short-term recommendation is to change our entire system, get rid of all the 60-minute service and provide a minimum of 30-minute service across the board, regardless of the day. So by design, we said, you know what, when we have a driver shortage situation, let's cut the service on those 15-minute routes to alleviate the impact on the 60-minute service, because people who count on 60-minute service, they're going to have to wait for another hour if they miss that route. So the table listed here is based on how many days in those service days the service was impacted. It doesn't mean 10% or 50% of the service was impacted. If there was one trip cancellation on the day, one time, we counted that for the day. So that's the number that you're seeing here. What's not included in this report is on Route 33, because we only provide more frequent service during the summertime on Saturday for Route 33, but I do have the information here. Route 33 was impacted on 3 days on the 44 days that we operated between May and September 2024, which represents 7% of the days that we operated. So the next page lists some of the things that we have been doing in response to this situation. What have we been doing in addressing this? Driver shortage, for the most part, it's beyond our control because we contract out the service and the contractor is the employer hiring drivers. However, what's within our control is there are ways and there are things that we can do to encourage and also hold the contractors accountable to address the situation. The good news is, since February last year, when Transdev took over the fixed route contract, we needed 155 drivers to meet the initial contract requirement, and they were able to overstaff that number to 163 sometime last year. However, when they were caught off guard this beginning in 2024, really mid-April, around April timeframe in 2024, when the new Colorado Family and Medical Leave Insurance Program went in effect. Based on this program, the employer is not allowed to take disciplinary action for drivers using accrued sick leave. So they have experienced a lot of driver call-off to the tune of 10 to 15% of the daily workforce not reporting to work. So as a result, we have seen a deeper impact on the driver availability. What we have been doing with Transdev is we are leveraging liquidated damage in our contract with the contractor, and they have been responding very well to both counseling with drivers and also working with their HR and headquarters to speed up, really put a focus on driver training. So we're on track to increase driver pool to 175 drivers by mid-2025. On the bus side, again, there are things that's within our control, and there are things that we have to work with the contractors on. Things within our control, we created a contingency fleet, which was never in place in the past. According to the Federal Transit Administration, transit agency our size is required to maintain a number of spare ratio, which cannot exceed the federal allowance. By creating this contingency fleet, we're able to tag into basically retired vehicles for use in emergency situation. We have really been aggressively pursuing federal and state grant, both directly from the FTA and also through PPACG regionally. And we anticipate delivery of really between 22 and 24 buses between 2024 and 2026. So that's our true solution, bring in newer vehicles and retire the older ones. We have right-sized our fleet by moving those smaller vehicles from retired ADA fleet to fixed route service. We are receiving some complaints from both customers and drivers because those are not designed for fixed route service. However, the alternative is not to provide service. So we decided to provide some less optimal service with what we could while addressing the issue. And also on the contractor side, we have received a lot of support from their corporate office. They had an entire team, actually the team is still on site this week, helping with the local team. They're using third-party contractors. We hired a third-party inspection team. In addition to what we currently have, they're reviewing their practice on stocking additional parts. And we actually have a new general manager on site, having basically taking a fresh look at how our practices. And this individual came from Denver RTD with a lot of maintenance experience. So overall, we were able to reduce our cutaway using smaller retired vehicles. Back in January, March, we were looking at between 11 and 12 on a daily basis to 6 in November and December. So the trend is promising, but the work is not done yet. We'll continue this route, continue to work on solving the problem, but we think we see the light at the end of the tunnel. So that's my report. Sorry it took longer this month.
That's okay. It was very thorough. Any questions? Council member?
Avila.
Yeah.
Lan, thank you so much for taking that deep dive and addressing all the questions I had. And before I had those questions, I know that your team was already working on this. So trying to figure out, being really creative on how we can come up with a viable solution. So I just want you to know that I appreciate the work that you and your team have been doing on this.
Thank you.
And since we talked so long this morning about transit, I appreciate it as well. It's amazing to me the things that can go wrong. You know, we knew the Family Act was going to be tough, but when it starts affecting a government service like that, it can be very frustrating. So thank you very much for the detailed report.
Thank you.
Okay. Our next item is the City of Colorado Springs monthly change order and property acquisition report. Gail?
Yes, Madam Chair, it is provided in your packet. I'd be happy to answer any questions. It is an informational item.
Okay, are there any questions? Then we have the City of Colorado Springs Powers North reimbursement update.
Yes, Gail Stewart with the City of Colorado Springs. I wanted to bring a revised Powers Boulevard Extension reimbursement summary. I presented one to you in December, and when we went through and we're doing a second round of audits, realized we did not attribute some of the reimbursement costs correctly. The real difference is that the total invoices as of the December 4th memo is still the $14,717,000 $490.41 that we reported previously. The difference is, in December, we said just 14 million was attributed to PPRTA, and it was 709,000 towards Colorado Springs utilities. Through this effort of the charges we received thus far, only $13,541,633.96 is attributed to PPRTA, and the rest goes to Colorado Springs utilities. So we just wanted to inform you where we are. We do anticipate having some more invoices coming in, and we'll have an updated statement in February. So I just want to make sure that you had that.
Okay, thank you. We appreciate that. Any questions on that? All right, 9D, maintenance of effort report. Rick.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is simply an informational item, a high-profile reminder that the maintenance of effort reports are due at the February cycle of the CAC and board meetings. So just informational. Be glad to take any questions.
Okay. And then we will move on to item 10B, revision to the Pikes Peak RTA bylaws, the first reading. Jennifer.
Yeah, this effort started because we realized that in Article 2A, it still is listing 9 directors. It does contemplate expansion, so it doesn't necessarily have to be revised, but we have 10 directors. And so then as I was looking at the bylaws, of course, I found a couple of other things that could be cleaned up, like references to board versus board of directors and doing that consistently. We've also had a couple of interesting things within this past year that led me to look at the bylaws a little bit differently and wanted to provide some clarity. One being sort of holdover directors when governments don't, the member governments don't meet to reappoint prior to this meeting. So this happened with the county this year, where their new board members are not taking office until after this meeting. I worked with the county attorney to make sure we were okay for today's meeting, but wanted to clarify that within Article 2A. Also, some additional means where vacancies occur under the establishing IGA. So I wanted to make sure that was incorporated correctly. And then we, once this year, had a situation where we weren't sure who was going to be chairing the meeting. The best reading was that was the secretary. And so I've also incorporated that in Article 4A at the end. So just some cleanup and clarification items. This does require 2 readings based on the bylaws. So today is first reading. So today's action for the board would just be to move this to second reading unless there's any additional revisions to be made.
Okay. Unless anyone has any comments, I will take a motion to put this out for first reading.
Just to move it to second reading next time.
Okay, we will move the bylaws to second reading next month.
Okay, Mayor Dixon, I move that we move this item to the second reading.
Okay, second.
I'll second John Graham.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Thank you for taking the effort to fix those. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously. 10D, staff field report.
Oh, excuse me, 10C, please.
Oh, 10C, we better do 10C. Sorry, 10C.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is designation of posting places for meeting notices for calendar 2025. Section 3D of the board's bylaws requires the posting places for meeting notices to be designated annually. So we're requesting a board motion to designate the PPRTA website and the east bulletin board of the PPAC building as the 2 posting places for Pikes Peak RTA meeting notices for 2025.
Okay. If there's no questions, I'll take a motion to so designate the posting places for meetings.
Mayor Dixon, I'll move that we approve the designated posting places to be the RTA website and the lower level east outdoor bulletin board. Did I get that right?
Okay, and a second?
I'll second John Graham.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously. 10D, staff field review report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is simply an information item showing the results of my windshield driving around confirmation of what work was performed and completed in the third quarter of calendar 2024 as reported by the member governments. Be glad to take any questions.
Okay, are there any questions on the staff field review report? All right, thank you very much. Any proposed agenda topics for the next meeting? Jennifer.
I'm not sure if this will come to the board next meeting yet or not, but just a heads up to the board members that I am working with the county attorney on an interesting matter related to one of the construction contractors, Full Tilt. We've gotten some notices recently of UCC filings and their competing filings, and then the contractor is claiming that they don't have priority rights to payments. And so we're kind of in this circle of we're not sure who we pay when we actually owe them money, which we don't currently. So just a heads up to the board that this will likely be coming to you at a future meeting for some direction.
Okay, that's not on Beacon Light Road, is it? I got to get that one done before
This
I
is
go.
where I'll look at Josh and say, I don't really know what Full Tilt is doing, but
Okay, that's okay. And then Pikes Peak RTA member announcements. Does anyone have any announcements? Mayor Dixon.
We're about 99% there of having a new town manager effective February 3rd. We're just waiting on one final thing back from their background check.
Okay, wonderful.
Name is Caleb Patterson.
And we look forward to that because that means we get to keep you until a special election this fall or something.
The other item, one of our RTA 3 projects is the main bridge coming into town. We are looking heavily at that. In fact, we're actually getting assistance from the state to write the grant.
Good.
The cost has ballooned. The estimated cost has ballooned to 7.9 million. And so we're going to have to not only get a grant, but we're going to have to get local match. We'll be using obviously some of the RTA funds for it, but then we're also going to have to go get a loan to be able to pay the contractor because everything's a reimbursement. So a lot of work, but now's the time to do it.
Got to have a way for people to get into town.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that must be one of those 60% of bridges not in quite perfect condition.
I think the last report I saw said we'd probably have to close it in 2037.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Well, bridges are important. Any other announcements? Okay, there being no other announcements, we will adjourn. Thank you.